Hello, I'm Stephanie Cheah, the founder of the British Education and School Show in Asia. This week, we are delighted to bring you an interview with the head of one of the top UK boys' schools. Tonbridge has a long history of welcoming international students, and in particular is popular with families in Asia, from Hong Kong and Singapore, because of its very strong academic provision. Its exam results are consistently in the top 5 boys' boarding schools in the country, but at the same time, its non-academic provision is simply outstanding. From the sports, music and drama facilities to the community action program, this is a school that gives every student a truly holistic education of excellence, while at the same time nurturing its boys into fine young men. Please allow me to introduce you to James Priory, the headmaster, who will give you a detailed insight into Tonbridge and answer other questions asked by overseas parents about the school. Over to you, James.
Hello, my name is James Priory and I'm headmaster of Tonbridge School. And Tonbridge is one of the leading boys' schools here in the UK. Indeed, we were recognised very recently as the Independent Boys' School of the Year. We're also, though, one of the world's leading boarding schools, and we attract boys from all around the globe, as well as from here in the UK, and especially London and the South East. The boys who come here come between the ages of 13 and 18, a really formative period for their intellectual discovery and personal development as they prepare for life beyond school, for university and future lives and careers. Tonbridge was founded in 1553, and I'm pleased to say that we remain very much on our original site nearly 500 years later. And we're located in Tonbridge, which is a market town in Kent, just 23 miles south of London, and only 40 minutes by train directly into the centre of the capital. We're well connected to Gatwick and to Heathrow. And we have access to some really beautiful countryside here in Kent, but actually our own campus is also a very beautiful one too. 150 acres, some stunning buildings and facilities, certainly plenty of space in which to live and breathe. As a school, Tonbridge has a very strong global outlook, partly influenced of course by the presence of our international pupils. Our curriculum, though built on a tradition of scholarship, certainly continues to evolve to meet the 21st century needs of learning and skills. But as well as that global outlook, one of the things I love about Tonbridge is also its very strong local character as well. We're very much synonymous with the place in which we are, and that's important because we're part of our local community, and widening access and outreach are also a really important part of life at the school. Now, Tonbridge is highly regarded for its academic excellence right across the curriculum, and we have outstanding results at GCSE, at A-level, indeed recognised as one of the top performing schools in the UK. And we see this in the boys' progression to world-class universities. It's fair to say that as well as in the creative arts, the humanities and the languages, we do have particular strengths in STEM subjects, in mathematics, in economics, in design technology and engineering, physics, chemistry, biology, computer science. We've just opened, for example, the flagship Barton Science Centre, a £20 million project named after the Nobel Prize-winning chemist Derek Barton, who's a former pupil of Tonbridge. And that Barton Science Centre has provided the boys and indeed the teachers with an absolute state-of-the-art facility for scientific learning, but also excitingly for the boys' own research. As well as the super curricula, we also have a tremendous range of co-curricular opportunities on offer here across things such as sport, music and drama, in which the boys again excel. There's no doubt Tonbridge is an extraordinary school, and we certainly hope we'll have the opportunity to come and welcome you to see it for yourselves.
Thank you, James. Can you tell us more about your overseas boys and where they come from?
We have boys who come from all around the globe, as well as from the UK and especially here, London and the South East. And our international students will come from Hong Kong, from China, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, India, US and Canada, and indeed Russia and other countries too, of course. And typically we have around 15% of the boys at the school come from overseas or who live overseas. And they're certainly much valued for the contribution they make to Tonbridge's community. We have an entry point, our main entry is at 13 into year 9, but we do also have boys who join us at year 10 or the beginning of the GCSE courses, and again there's an entry point into the 6th form. I think it's fair to say that the boys who come here are ambitious. They're bright, talented, they're looking to develop those interests further, to experience the British education that's on offer here at Tonbridge, and certainly ambitious and aspirational about progression to top universities, and that's of course our expertise in supporting them to achieve that.
James, can you tell us what proportion of your pupils are boarders and what life in your school is like as a boarder?
Well, Tonbridge has around 800 boys, and we're very distinctive in being both a boarding and a day school, although characterised very much by our boarding ethos. So about 450 of those boys are boarders here, about 60% of the school, and then about 40% of the boys attend as day boys, although very much committed to that boarding life of the school as well. And that's evident in the experience of the week, but also perhaps one of the things I want to emphasise in the involvement in being part of the house system. All of the boys belong to a house, and that's a really important part of life at Tonbridge. We have 12 houses, 7 boarding and 5 day, and each of those, of course, is a physical entity, a building, each distinctive and has its own character and facilities, and a housemaster who lives within that house, and then of course also a whole team of people. So in a boarding house, for example, alongside the housemaster there'll be an assistant housemaster, a team of at least 5 tutors, importantly a matron, and indeed weekend matrons. There is this real 24/7 care. And one of the things we also have to support our boys who live overseas is the presence of an international student liaison officer, someone who does a brilliant job in also providing that point of contact between parents, supporting the boys, and all the logistics of being here at Tonbridge, but at the same time having home overseas. Now, the house life of the school characterises the experience for everybody, but also I think very importantly for our overseas boys, because it really does give you a family within the family of the school. For example, at lunchtime, we're very unusual as a school. We stop and we have lunch, and it's a chance to come together socially. And for all of the boys who come to the school, that experience is through house dining. So you will actually eat as a house, as a boarder, 3 times a day, with a catering team who get to know you as an individual. And that's where you come back sitting together with your friends, serving each other, talking about what's been going on in the day, looking forward to what is yet to come. Now, many of our boarders actually do live very locally, and it might therefore prompt the question, why board, if you don't necessarily have to? And I think it's an important question to answer, because it'll give you an insight, if you like, as to what the boarding life is like at Tonbridge. And the reason so many of our boarders also live locally as well as coming from overseas is that it gives you an amazing kind of opportunity and time to be with your friends, to enjoy access to the facilities, enjoy access to the teachers, but just really get the most out of the place. So that opportunity for quality of experience is why so many of the boys choose not only to learn here, but to live here too. So the programme through the week is busy and it's a full one, and we have teaching across 6 days from Monday to Saturday, and that's because it gives us the opportunity to create dedicated afternoons, at least 3 or 4 afternoons a week, which are dedicated to co-curricular and super-curricular activities which everybody gets involved in. On a Saturday, for example, there'll be lessons in the morning, there'll be sports and different activities going on through the afternoon involving the large majority of the school. And then on Saturday evenings, many of those who do live more locally or have guardians and families nearby may well then go and stay with their families, often inviting friends to come and stay with them as well. And typically we'll have around 25% of the boys in each of the boarding houses staying over that Saturday night and into the Sunday. And on Sundays, there's a whole range of different activities you might be able to take part in. For example, the sports centre is open and fully available with all its recreational facilities and staff. You can go along to the music department. We have staff who come in as well and support in art and design technology. And on the EXIAC weekends, for those boys who might otherwise be staying at the school, then we will typically organise trips to all kinds of interesting places. Then as we come through onto a Sunday evening, then of course that's when the school starts to regather again in readiness for the week ahead. And that's of course a time when all the boarders will be back, looking forward to the next week as the cycle begins again.
Please share with us how international students are helped to settle into the Tonbridge community, from their first arrival and through their time at school. How do the overseas boys contribute to Tonbridge?
Well, the boys are welcomed at the airport as they arrive and accompanied to the school. We send coaches to meet flights, and we think that's really important, that that sense of welcome comes right from the moment when you touch down here in the UK. It's something we take very seriously and give a lot of time to. It's one of the reasons why we also have an international student liaison officer to be that point of contact for parents, for boys, both pastorally within the school, but also logistically too, because we know that sometimes arrangements can feel complex, and it's just reassuring to feel that there's a known face and name who's there to recognise, welcome, and make sure everything goes smoothly. The boys who come to us from overseas countries are very much integrated right across the school, and that's really important. We don't have a separate or dedicated overseas international school within the school. It's very much about the boys being part of the school as a whole. And the housemasters are brilliant at buddying up the boys, so they have a chance to get to know friends, make connections and contacts very soon, settle themselves into the life of the school. The house system, which I've mentioned before, is a really important element of life at Tonbridge, and it provides that opportunity for a family within a family. There's a great team there: housemaster, assistant housemaster, a team of tutors, matron, weekly matron, as well as the international student liaison officer I mentioned before. And all of those people are there, and they work very hard to ensure not only that the boys feel supported, but also that parents are regularly contacted and communicated with. And that's really important, because one of the things that's very special about a school like Tonbridge, with 800 boys but a boarding school as well, is that everyone becomes known as an individual, something we really pride ourselves on. And if I'm honest, it's what I think is one of the greatest strengths of the school, is that quality of relationships between the boys and also between the boys and their teachers and the other staff involved in their care here. Worth mentioning too that we also have an overseas student council, and that plays an important part in giving the boys a voice about the activities that they would like to see and feedback on their experience, and an opportunity for leadership too and representation, that the boys take that seriously. And I certainly enjoy taking part in those forums and discussions. When I became head, I had the opportunity to go and visit Hong Kong and Singapore and New York. In all of these places, I had the chance to very early on in my time to meet parents and hear about their experience of their sons coming to Tonbridge. I have to say the feedback was extraordinarily positive, and out of those visits have come some really good friendships, and those relationships are important to us as a school. How do the boys contribute to the school? Well, they contribute hugely to the academic, intellectual life, music, sport and drama. And perhaps interestingly, what struck me is that our overseas boys also become fantastic ambassadors for the school. I've seen that particularly in the life of our alumni. We have a very extensive OT, or Old Tonbridgian, community and network, and many of our overseas boys become very active in that, not only kind of spreading the word about Tonbridge, but also very keen to talk to current students about the careers they've gone on to, and for that we're really grateful.
Overseas parents are always concerned about travel logistics. Can you tell us about how your school terms and holidays are structured?
Well, the academic year at Tonbridge is organised very similarly to other schools here in the UK into 3 academic terms: the autumn, spring and summer, or as we call them, Michaelmas, Lent and summer. And the Michaelmas term is typically, of course, the longest of those 3 terms, and therefore the midterm break in that first term would normally be 2 weeks, and then in the Lent and summer terms we have a 1-week midterm or half-term break. We also, through the course of the year, have some exeat weekends, and that's when the boys will not stay at school, but will either go and stay with family or with guardians. It's important, of course, it's a legal requirement for all of our overseas boys to have a guardian here within the UK. But there'll also be a chance on those exeat weekends to take part in trips. It's something actually that the Overseas Student Council takes great interest in, is determining possible destinations, and those have included, for example, trips for a weekend break to a European city where they can go along as friends with our international liaison officer, or they might go and visit one of the important university towns and get an experience of that. Oxford and Cambridge, I know, are very popular destinations. If the boys are heading home then for one of those more significant kind of midterm breaks, then of course we'll support them in making sure that there is coach journeys to the relevant airports. Gatwick and Heathrow are in easy travelling distance of the school. But it's also fair to say that many of the boys may well, of course, stay here in the UK, or they might indeed take part in some of the school trips that are taking part through Tonbridge as well. And also, of course, parents may well take the opportunity to come and visit their sons here in the country and come and see Tonbridge too. And that's always a great pleasure when that happens.
The COVID-19 pandemic has made life quite difficult for all students, but especially for those living overseas. Please tell us how your school has supported them during this time.
Well, it's clearly been a very challenging time for everybody all around the world during the current pandemic. And one of the things that, of course, has been really important for us as a school here at Tonbridge, and something I'm really proud of, has been the importance of collaborating with our parents and with the boys themselves, so that we're responding to their concerns and needs to make sure that they are safe, that they're well, that the school is as flexible and supportive as we can be, to make sure that they enjoy a continuity of education, and of course ideally they enjoy that experience here at school amongst their friends. And I'm really pleased to say that that has been our experience during the course of this year. So for example, in August, at the beginning of the academic year, we opened up the school so that the boys were able to come and stay here in one of our boarding houses, receive all the care and support that they needed whilst they completed that time in quarantine, but also enjoying company of friends and being here back in Tonbridge, which so many of them were looking forward to. And we've also been very flexible in terms of keeping the school open during the holiday periods when the boys have really needed to stay and when that's just been what's felt to be best for them and for their families. So during the October half-term break in that Michaelmas term, for example, we offered a 2-week residential programme, and many of the boys elected to stay for that and had a great time. It was a differentiated programme depending on the year group, real range of activities on offer, chance to keep their studies going if they wish, particularly for those in exam years, but a really good experience. And then we really went to town, to be honest, in making sure that the boys were able to return safely and smoothly for the Christmas break. And that was logistically challenging, obviously different requirements and demands all around different destinations of the world. But again, all the boys made those journeys safely and successfully, which was great. And as we look forward to the rest of the year to come, we're certainly expecting to offer the same residential support for boys during holiday periods. And I'm therefore really pleased that the experience of the boys has been one of continuity. And that's thanks, I think, to be fair, to some really good relationships and communication between school and home.
We would love to hear more about what some of your overseas students have gone on to study and the eventual career paths that they have taken.
Almost all of our students go on to very much the leading universities, world-class universities, both here in the UK and indeed around the globe. And that includes, of course, top universities in the UK, Oxford, Cambridge, leading Russell Group universities, and also top destinations in the US and Canada in particular, as well as other destinations in Asia and Europe. One of the things that we take very seriously as a school is having expert support for university mentoring and guidance to prepare for that range of applications that the boys will be interested in, both in the UK and internationally. And I think it's fair to say too that we also see great success, not only because the boys achieve very strong grades, both at A level, at GCSE, but also because they really are regularly going beyond the curriculum, and we're seeing them achieve in national, international Olympiads, really kind of taking the lead in their own independence in national and international competitions, and therefore applying with some really strong CVs. As well as supporting for universities, we have a very good careers support in the school as well, and that's characterised by assistance with work experience, but also by Work Insight programme and by mentoring. We have a fantastic alumni network and a network of parents, former parents and friends of the school, all of whom are obviously keen to support and invest time in the development of young people and their aspirations. And so the connections that are possible and the insights that are gained are really special through the careers as well as university support provided by the school. And when you look at the range of careers that the boys go on to pursue, both including boys from overseas, but also here in the UK as well, the range is extraordinarily impressive and diverse. And it includes, of course, careers in areas such as finance, in law, in diplomacy and political careers. We also see people, of course, go through into engineering and science and research careers as well. And also, as well as things like medicine and veterinary science, we see a real interest too in things such as the creative arts and on the entrepreneurial side and business. That's something that's really struck me, actually, the interest in enterprise. But creative arts and sports, I can think, for example, of people who've gone on to win Oscars as film producers, who've been prize-winning writers, and therefore an extraordinary range. And I think that reflects both the experience at the school as well as the aspirations and talents the boys have.
Parents recognise that there's undoubtedly a difference in culture and ethos between schools. What do you think is distinctive about Tonbridge as a school?
Well, one of the things that I think is particularly distinctive about Tonbridge is the people, the quality of the people, and indeed the quality of the relationships that they enjoy. And that's true about the relationship between the boys themselves. It's also true about the relationship between the boys and the staff, thanks to the time that we spend together and the opportunities that are on offer in a school like Tonbridge, and therefore shared between both pupils and their teachers and all the other staff involved in their lives here. I think we're very fortunate that we have a lot of people who are bright, talented, motivated, and really keen to develop and fulfill their potential. That's true particularly of the boys, of course, the intellectual curiosity they have, the fundamental kindness too, the supportiveness of each other, and just a quiet confidence, which is something which characterises, I think, the boys here at Tonbridge, or certainly how they develop. But it's also something that's really true of the staff as well. I've been really struck by that here. Our staff, our teaching staff, for example, often bring great richness of experience from lives and careers in the outside world that helps to inspire the learning that takes place in the classroom. You know, it's not unusual to have teachers here who have managed oil rigs in the North Sea, or who've been involved in leading banks in Japan, or who have flown jets with the RAF. You know, these are the kind of experiences that the teachers bring, and of course that's very exciting to be able to talk about, but it also just makes that learning real. So thanks to those relationships, thanks to that energy and dynamism, I do think this is an extraordinary community to be part of. It's probably one of the reasons why the kind of unofficial motto of the school is rather special to us, something that you see around the school etched on buildings. It's something we talk about, and it's that epigraph that was written by E.M. Forster, the great novelist, one of Tonbridge's literary alumni. Very simple phrase, but only connect. And I think for us that means, yes, about making intellectual connections as a school, but also about making human connections too. And that for me is what makes Tonbridge very special.
Thank you very much, James, for sharing with us this insightful glimpse into Tonbridge and what keeps it at the very top of UK boarding. I cannot agree more with you as I think of the Tonbridge boys I've met. They're all bright and ambitious individuals looking to make a difference in our world, but more importantly, they are compassionate, kind, and down to earth. So for parents watching with boys, please do discover more about Tonbridge on BESSA Connect, or get in touch with us to organise to meet the admissions staff at the school. Thank you for joining us, and see you for the next episode. If you'd like to receive updates on when this will be, just follow us on social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram, Twitter and LinkedIn. See you soon.
Here's how HSBC Premier's overseas education support can make sending your child abroad a whole lot easier. Meet Katie. Katie's parents are HSBC customers and are sending her to study in the UK. To help her decide on her school, Katie made use of Premier benefits like complimentary education consultations and placement tests. Once she decided where to study, Katie then set up her Premier account and got her credit card sent to her even before she left town. Whilst in the UK, Premier benefits allow Katie's parents to send telegraphic transfers for her school fees free of charge. Katie's day-to-day banking is also made easier as she can manage all her HSBC accounts with a single login and perform cash withdrawals in 10 currencies with the Everyday Global debit card. Find out more about HSBC Premier now.